Okay, hello. Today we're gonna go through a rather complicated flow or flows that will aim to handle what power tariffs for your electricity bill. You have three hourly peak powers that you have every month in different types of rules around this. On the fixed part of the bill is related to the max power you use, and normally it's 3 hours per month, 3 peak hours. So and we will see some variants of handling this. I'll show you first the charts with the charts that the insights that result from this. And the first one here, we will come back to it maybe, but this first one is just a number saying when we are above the limit that we have set for the what kind of power we want to keep below. We have to decide that in the beginning of the month, or what do I aim for? And here you see this limit. I just took a random one, which is now 1.2 here to show you, because I don't have this system yet in my electrical company. So anyway, so this is then the estimate. I estimate the whole time, every minute. I estimate the power for the hour to be, and also that we're in, and this is actually the actual power that is. So you see, there's a bit of a difference between the estimate and the actual power. You can see, for instance, at this peak, we have an increase in power here at this point, and then it takes a while for me to register that there had been an elevation in power. And then, of course, when this power peak goes off, the power will drop down. And of course, every hour it resets again. Every minute, I calculate the margin I have for power usage relative to the limit, and make an estimate of it. So it tells how much, if we say we're over the limit, how much power do I need to reduce for the coming hour, or the hour that we're in, to be able to end up below my desired limit. So this will of course change dynamically the whole time. And this one is filtered. This is the actual one. And as you see, every hour you get a peak. And of course, when we are just a few minutes until the next hour, if we are at the deficit, we will of course get an infinite deficit of power that we need to reduce. And we have an infinite surplus as we get close to the end of the hour, if we have a surplus. And this one, I just filtered it because it's just pointless to save 60 kilowatts when you only have a 10 kilowatt ability total in your house, or 15 or 16 or whatever you have. So that's the resulting. And then if we go to the flow, so every minute we start this flow, and what we do is just as a first introduction is we every minute, of course, we store old values from the former minute to use it as a difference. for a number of things. And then every minute we calculate the rolling average of the last 5 minutes power. And we store those as 5 individual numbers, and then we have a FIFO buffer, first in, first out buffer, where we exchange with the newest value the whole time. So we throw away the oldest one. From that, we use that together with actual power used for this hour that we are in, and we calculate an estimate of how this current hour will turn out. An estimate that naturally will be more and more precise as further along the hour goes. We calculate how much overshoot we are having or our undershoot of the target that we have set. We set the limit for the average kilowatt or the kilowatt hours per hour that we want to end up in as a maximum. And each minute we calculate how much to reduce the power that we are using to be able to end up at an average power below our limit. So if we have, for instance, 30 minutes left, and we see that we will end up with 30 kilowatt minutes of excess use, then we save obviously 1 kilowatt for 30 minutes. So we have to reduce 1 kilowatt to save 30 kilowatt minutes for the remainder of the hour if there's half hour left. So that's straightforward. So I use kilowatt minutes because we do this every minute. So kilowatt minutes becomes kind of a thing. And then what we do is we have this power factor you can see here is sometimes some utility companies will allow you to use double power for certain hours in the day without punishment, so to speak. And also there are some companies that only store one peak hour per day. So generally we store 3 peak hours per month, and the average of that determines the utility bill. And so we will exchange only one of these 3 values per day for some agreements. And so, of course, every hour we will go to the 3 stored we have already and see if the new hour is more than any of those. So that's the general thing of it. And of course, what I don't bring up here is if we end up in a situation where we have risk of excess use of energy for an hour, we have to shut something off. But that's not included in this flow. The actual what to do, turn off the car or whatever. And of course, you need as a basis, you need some kind of electricity meter, which I have. I have a Home Wizard, which gives me the power all the time. Without that, this is of course impossible. So every minute we go through this first this section here, which is this flow card, and we check if it contains colon 00. So if time, the Homey time contains 00, colon 00, it will be a new hour. It's just a way of determining when the hour shifts. It's 00, we set a minute counter to 0, because you need the counter here to keep track of how many minutes we are into the hour. And if it's not colon 00, we will add 1 to the minute. So we'll calc up to 59 each hour. because we use that later on. We set this, we store the old power factor, which was used last hour. We store that to the old one. So we have the previous always, because we will use that later on. If it shifts, we have this time where we can calculate only half power, for instance, which some have. And then if it's between this nighttime there we have, it's a power factor half, and if it's daytime, it's power factor 1. So we use the case when this shifts later on. That's why we save the old one. We go up here, and then we create a text tag of some old from the last time. This is the power save kilowatt number is the how much energy we have to save from now on, how much power we have to save from now on to end up below the limit this hour. And this is the rolling average from the last minute. We save this as a text tag here. It's just a create two tags from the value we already have. I will tell you how the values are created now. So, and then we go to the separate flow, separate just because of keeping things organized. And we go to calculate the rolling average. The start tag here has no meaning. It was a 1, but it can be anything. It's just nothing. So what we do here, we create this new parameter, which we have created in the variables, is the e-power roll param, where we take the e-power factor divided by the old factor. So if the new factor is 1 and the old factor is half, of course we get 2. And if the new one is half and the old factor is 1, of course we get half. So what we do here, the very end of this one, is we create, we create the last minute's average power as total usage kilowatt hour minus the old value from the last minute, which we store down here. And we multiply by 60 to get go from kilowatt hours to kilowatt minutes. And we multiply the power factor. So, and of course, what we have here, we have a kilowatt minute, and we sample for 1 minute. So we get kilowatt minute per minute, which is kilowatts. So this can be a bit confusing. It's like when you have kilowatt hour per hour, that's the same as kilowatt. Every minute we set the minute number 5 to, which is e power 4, because we started 0 here. 4, and we set this to e power 3, and e power 3 to 2, 1, 1, 0, and 0 we create the new. So we get 5 of them. So then, and we multiply with this e power roll param, because if we change the power factor going into the new minute or the new hour, this old rolling average input here, e power 4, which is from the last hour, will have to be, for instance, multiplied by 2 if we go from power factor half to power factor 1. Otherwise, the first 5 minutes of average power, or actually not the power is what it is, but the actual power that counts for the versus the limit will be wrong. So we have to up or down the old stored values, but not the recent one. That will be calculated with the current power factor. So that's why this is power factor, the current one, and this is the e power roll param. So we have to rescale them, so to speak, because when we logged them, we were under another power factor. And then we set e power old to the current one, which we use the next minute. We're rolling old, we set to the current one. And then we calculate the new e power rolling to just the average of all these 5 values, and then we round it to 3 decimals. And then we come back, because always when we do a flow within a flow from one of these start flow cards, this will run completely before we continue here. And then we go on a side note here, and this here we use the new rolling value, and if that is more than the old value, which actually this is e power rolling old. This is, I could actually change this to see, this could be e power rolling old here. I've redone that, so but we use this. This was the old one when we created the tag, so this is the old one. It could say e power rolling old here really. We check if the rolling average is increasing. That's bad. It could be bad. And then if we're on the wrong side, so that the overshoot, which is this power save kilowatt number, which is how much excess power we're using or leftover power. If you're on the wrong side, this it will be negative. So if it's less than 0, we're using too much power, and the increasing rolling average, it's bad. And then we have this variable called e power count rate raise, which will increase when it's bad, and it will decrease when it's good, or reset to 0 when it's good again. So here we just, if this conditions is true, we're on the wrong side and it's increasing, we raise power, count raise power with 1, and if it's we make sure that it doesn't go below 0. So if it's 0, it becomes 1. So and then if we're on the wrong side, but we're decreasing this rolling average, we decrease this count raise. And this is just a kind of a factor that I showed you earlier in the charts, that kind of if that increases the whole time, it's bad. So it's just an indicator of what's going on. It's kind of a summary thing. And if we're on the right side of the limit, we set this to 0, so it doesn't go below 0, this value. So this is an arbitrary thing. You can see when it goes up, it's bad, and when it's 0, it's good. Something to kind of act on. So then, if we are at if the time now contains colon 00, we're at the new hour, and at the full hour, we will count the energy to the what we read out from the meter now, what we read out the last hour. So this will become the actual power used for the last hour. And we will create e power last hour as a tag for some reason, I don't know. And we will save read last hour to this, I think, is just garbage. Or am I using it somewhere? So anyway, so e power last hour we save, so we know what to take the difference to, and then we have then we calculate the save kilowatt number, which is the power limit minus the e power we are rolling. So this is the so this is the, it doesn't have so much meaning here because we're at the full hour, so we can't do anything really. But or actually, this is just the current the current state, the last 5 minutes, how much are we using, so we calculate that, and then we create e power, and this now. So and then when we've done that, we create this e power save kilowatt number as a as a tag, and we take the absolute value of it. So if it's negative, it becomes positive. And then the square root, root square of the value. And then if the result is more than 5, we this is just for scaling, because this value will go to minus infinity or positive infinity when on hour 59 or minute 59, so to speak, if we have excess, because we have a very little time. But if we have an excess, it can be anything, and we cannot save 1000 kilowatts. It's impossible. So I just not disrupt, so the amplitude of the insights chart will not, so we can see the actual. It would look like 0 the whole time, and massive spikes. I just reduce it, so if it's more than 5, it will only be 5. I do that by taking the actual number divided by the the absolute value. So then I get plus minus 5 in the end as max. It's kind of a, I don't know what you call it, truncation, or yeah. So, and this is, I say this as a filter value. So the real one is still there, but it's easier to see. Now we have the actual outcome of this hour, how much energy we used. And then we go to the e-power peak. So we start the e-power peak flow. And the e-power peak is, of course, this flow card or flow sheet. So this flow sheet, we start here. And so we start this with the tag, and the tag is 1. So what we do here is we have these 3 values that will be stored: e-power month high, e-power month high 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that's the 3 top values that we use for a month. So we have to check with the hour that we did now, is that larger than any of these ones? That's what we must check. So to check that easily, we need to, well, need, but it's not so easy as you can think using flowcards. So what I do here first, I make sure that the ones that I have stored always is that value 1 is higher than 2 and 2 is higher than 3. So we get so they are descending order of size or value, right? You might say. So what I do here is we start this with the flow tag 1, and we check is 3 larger than 2. Yes, it is. If the outcome is yes, then we switch 2 and 3 by this one. You store that as a text tag, set 2 to 3, and set 3 to 2 by this text tag. So we do this rocade. And then we start the flow again. But then we have the start tag plus 1. And this start tag numbering is that's only to be able to see how many times the flow is rolling, just for analysis. It has no real point. When it comes the next time, and then it will check, okay, is number 2 more than 1? Okay, no, and if so, it will switch 1 and 2. And then it comes again, and then it starts the third time. And of course, this is correct because we changed it the first time. And this is also correct because we changed it the second time. And then we come down here and we see is 1 also bigger than 3? And it's hopefully it's yes. And then we proceed. If it's not, it does this loop once again. I don't think it ever could, because I think actually you would do the proper rocade only by 2 times, but I'm not sure. So this is kind of safe. So what happens here if we do a test with 1, we will see that it runs through here. No, it's 3 is bigger than 2, yes, no, and this one is yes. So now we know that the order of things are correct, 3 to 1. This is run number 1, 3 to 1. So you see This one was the one we tested now. So yeah. So if these are in the wrong order from start, they will rearrange themselves. So that's all that does. And of course, if it's okay from the beginning, it will go directly proceed. So, and this is, I think, under some circumstances, maybe you've been fiddling with stuff. This thing will at some times come in the wrong order, and if it does, the next stage will be much harder to decide where to insert, because we want to always discard the lowest value of the 4 that we have, the 3 old ones and the new. So then we come up here, and then we have this um, separator where there are some people that have utility bills that says, okay, you can have only exchange one of the top 3 per day. So what we then have to do is store the max value from a whole day, and then check this value when the day ends with the 3 we have. Okay, so we can only do one exchange routine per day. Some people have that rule. I think it was Ellevio, among others. And so what I've done here, just to show you, is if I have 1 per day here, and if that's equal to just random, of course it's not, then we don't have that rule for your electricity bill. And if you have 1 per day is equal to, well, exactly 1 per day, obviously this will be true always. So this is just to make the model flexible when I show you. So it's not. I mean, you have the rule or you don't. So then you don't need this one. So you will, yeah. But you see, there's 2 options here, and the first option is when you don't have this, when every hour can exchange one of the top 3. Then we start this flow power setter value with the actual number that we got now, which is the e-power energy temp, I call it. That's the outcome of this hour, kilowatt average or kilowatt hours that we use this hour. And then we go through to the if we have the other option that we actually have 1 per day is equal to 1 per day. And then if e-power temp is, then we have this e-power daily max variable where we need that. We didn't need that down here. We have the e-power daily max, and then we see, okay, is the e-power energy temp more than e-power daily max? Yes or no? And of course, if it's yes, we have to set the new max. And if the time contains 0, 0, if and or, if we have between hour 23 and 0, 0, we have a maximum, we go this way. And if we have you don't have a maximum between 23 and 0, 0, this will be no. But if the time is 0, 0, 0, 0, of course we will set the value of daily max that we had. So you see, either we update both the daily max and this, or we just update the daily max that we had with the e-power setter value. So if you go to the e-power setter value, so if you go to this e-power setter value, starts with the tag, and the tag is the power that we sent in, the daily max or just the hour we had. And of course, I didn't tell you I use text values as text tags all over the place, just to avoid getting insights full of stuff. But you might want to do this blue. Then you get the 1 and 2 and 3 and so on and the insights. But I don't want them in the insights. So there's plenty in the insights anyway. I showed you in another video where you can use text as numbers and so on. So then we get the start tag, which is the new value. We check it with number 1. Is it bigger than 1, bigger than 2, bigger than 3? And here you see why it's important that they are in order. because otherwise this wouldn't work. This would be if they were not in order, we would have to check this would be a very complex ladder of options. It will be a mess. It's possible, but the sorting them first is much easier. And of course, if one is bigger than one, of course, number three will be set to two, number two will be set to one, and number one will be set to the start tag. So we just push out the number three value always. So this becomes very straightforward. And then we can create the average of the top three, which we don't have any use for other than knowing how much the amount will be on the electricity bill. But I mean that's not an actionable number that we can do anything with. It's just okay. Now we know. And it maybe you want to save it to a sheet or something, and then if the day number is 1, where in the first of a month, and the time is 0000, or actually 00 is and 1. Sorry, this is wrong. Oh, if day number is 1 and time contains 0000, then we reset all of these to 0, of course. So before this, you would have to maybe want to, before you do this, you would want to save something to sheets or something. Of course, otherwise you will not in this time you lose the information. Or if you want to do the last e-power last month one or something, whatever. So if we go back now to this one, yeah, we're up here. So it ends there. I have to go back again, which I didn't show you before, is that every minute that is not the new hour, we go down here and then we take the electric power average kilowatt, how much the average power used so far is. And then, so what we do is we take the total usage kilowatt hour, which we get from the meter, and we check what we stored last hour, which we did every hour up here. We multiply by 60 to get kilowatt minutes. And then we divide by number of minutes, of course. So if we test from here, we get 5 something and something else. So this is about 1 point, I don't know. And we have 23 minutes in. So then we get 0.665 kilowatts is the average power since there was a new hour. And then we multiply this by 23 because it has been 23 minutes in the hour. We take the rolling average that we had, which is a bit higher, 0.1816. And then we take this and multiply it by the 60 minus 23 and divide everything by 60 minutes. And then we get the weighted average, the linear weighted average between the actual outcome and the rolling average. So you could weight it otherwise. You might want to weight heavier on the rolling average. Then you have to put a factor here. Maybe if I want to weight so that the rolling average is twice as important, then you have to have 2 times up here. But then you have to divide this by also, if you double this value, so then you have to put this thing down here in the denominator, so you get the correct denominator. You get what I mean. That's just arithmetic. So I don't know which is best. If you want to weight that high, heavier, or you have to test for months and see what happens. If you are, because you want to act on this somehow, and you don't want to overreact and not underreact. So this you have to kind of try out. So we could, if we do like this, if we, of course, up here we have this one would look like because we always get minute up there, so you will get minute. You want to divide by minute, which is the on this actual, which has been going on for some minutes, and you of course want to uh, take it 2 times 60 minus minute. If you want to do this one, I think that we can test. Let's see if we done all the parentheses right. E power estimate them. 0.632 we had up there. Let's see if we test this one. So let's see if we test this one, we get 0.629. And if we run this one, 0.632. No, it wasn't that much difference. So, a side note, but some of you might want to do that to trim the model. And if your E power estimate, if the estimate that we think will be for the next hour is more than limit, of course we have to do something, turn something off. And then we create this limit minus estimate, and then we get the overshoot or the undershoot, and we save this as the E power save kilowatt num, just as how much power we need to save to be able to end up. So at this time, if we have we estimate that we will get for instance 10 kilowatt minutes too much. Of course, this kilowatt hours per hour and kilowatt, that's the same. That's maybe a bit confusing here, but it's so what we need to do is, if we say that we need to save, we end up at 11 kilowatt hours, we believe, with the estimate, and we have the limit to 10. We of course have to save 1 kilowatt average power. So if we have a whole hour left, minute zero, we would get, of course, we have to save 1 kilowatt for 60 minutes. Okay, but if we are at 30 minutes, to save 1 kilowatt hour for when we have only half an hour, we of course need to save 2 kilowatts power. So what we do here, we take the power limit and the hour estimate limit, and then we take this, and then we divide 60. We divide it by the 60 minus minute, which is how long time has passed this minute, and divide it by 60. So if we have half 60 minus 30, we can do one of this. So if we now we have 1.2 and we have 0.67. So now we have excess. We have almost twice as much um, limit as the actual power is right now. So then we will get, of course, result 0.5. Now we have overshoot. We have two. We can use more power, so it doesn't matter. It gets the same. Only the so now we have 0.525 kilowatt hours that we can use, or kilowatts for 1 hour we can use. But we have 30. We are 35 minutes in to the hour. So we get 60 minus 35 divided by 60. So then n will be e worse 1.4. We need 1.4. So this will be, but now we're kind of tampering with stuff. So we can do like this. Whoop. And we just copy all this, because then we will get a tag. So it's very slow. So anyway, so we test from here, and then we get, now just when you make a tag, you can see the result directly when you do like this. So you get 1.48. So we needed to save 0.571 kilowatt hours for an hour, or actually 0.57 watt, kilowatts, if we had a whole hour, but we only have 23 minutes, 60 minus. So then, of course, 0.571 will be scaled up to, in this case, 1.48, because it is, you have less than an hour, so we can. So if this is 60 minus 60, of course we will get 0 times 60, which is 0. So that at the first or the final. So this cannot be 60. It can be only 59 actually. Then you get 1 to 60. But if we have 60 minus 0, then we get 1 down here. So in that case, we'll get the same value, obviously. And then, so the power to reduce for remaining hour is, of course, the important. So that tells us how much power do I have to reduce from now. And if we go back, you see this save num will, of course, always fluctuate much more than that. So you see here it will make a peak every hour, and by the end of the hour. So that's the peak I'm taking away up here, only making it. But it's not relevant, because you can't do that much when there's only 1 minute left. You can't draw negative power, or actually you could if you have solar panels, maybe. I don't know, or a generator. Hit the generator to save it. So here you see the whole flow in, not in one, but in a couple of sections. Yeah. So, and this is just also for testing. I used to set the power limit close to where I was to get kind of just be on the edge the whole time. Because when I'm not charging the car, I'm way below. Way below. I mean, the limit, of course, the limit will. You need to kind of probably make another flow where you actually change the limit, because you will have a different goal for your, depending on how your heating system in your house looks. You will get a different limit different times a year. because in yeah, and so on, most likely. Okay, so over and out, and good luck. And if you have questions, ask them in the comments in for the video. Thank you.